So, today I'm going to talk about what it really means. Now, many of you who might be following me or connecting with me or reading my newsletter, in which case, thanks so much. You know, my mission is ending workplace toxicity. But what does that actually mean? And why am I so passionate about it? We don't wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to end workplace toxicity. What does it mean to you? Now, we all have that interpretation of what toxicity means. So I just thought I'd explain what I see as toxicity, because I know I've lived it, we've breathed it, we've been in it. I know, I'm sure you all resonate with that term. So what I'm talking about toxicity, it doesn't have to be one person. Sometimes it's a one person that changes the culture. What we're really talking about, or what I'm really talking about, is two things. The first thing is the culture that we're working in. And the second thing is how it impacts on us. So for me, toxicity is when we don't feel safe. Now, that's the impact it has. We don't feel safe to speak up. We don't feel safe to share our view. We don't feel safe to say, I don't understand what's going on here. I don't really think this is the right thing to do. And so toxicity to me is when there's an environment, it might be created by one individual, that stops us feeling safe. And that one individual can change a culture. Now, it might be that one individual, it could be a colleague. If you're a financial director, it could be someone on the board, or it could be someone in your team they're not sure how to manage. The impact it has on those of us that where integrity and justice is our greatest values that guide us with everything we do. And I see this so often with my clients, and it really makes me sad. And I've been there too, because we don't feel safe to speak up, we question ourselves, not the environment. So the impact of having someone around us who behaves differently to how we wish we could behave is the fact that we know our values are integrity and justice. That other individual, often their chief value is respect. You will respect me no matter what. And that behavior creates friction, because that individual, and I don't want to generalize, but this is from my experience, that individual is out for themselves. And they become Teflon coated. And it's very confusing for us who are driven by integrity, wanting to make a difference, why that individual seems to be shooting up the chain and getting promotion, often over us, exceeding us, and for some reason seems to be very successful, how we see in terms of their job role. They could be the CEO, they could be on the board when you're aspirating to go from the next level to be onto C-suite, it could be a colleague. And how come they are the ones that are getting promoted, not us? And that creates a friction within ourselves. The first thing is we see this individual, we want to get promoted, we feel we deserve promotion, not only for our well-being and our self-esteem, but also because the higher up we have, the more influence we have, and we are all about making an impact. And if you're more senior, generally in theory, you can have a greater impact. But we all know that in reality, the most junior person in the organization can still have a massive impact. So it's not always related to the role of that individual, because as you probably heard me say, leadership is a behavior and not a title. As I'm talking, it's what happens to us, and that's what I'm really concerned about, because the toxicity suddenly is in our brain as well, where we start second guessing ourselves. And what I mean by that, we stop trusting ourselves. We question if we're good enough. We question what's going on here that I don't understand as to what's happening to others and not to myself. And the challenge we have if I'm talking about my experience and those of the clients I work with, we see this individual who's doing the role that we aspire to have, and yet some of us, in a way feel we need to be like that. Do I have to become like that to get promoted? But the thought of being that individual just rises against every being, every cell in our body. So this creates a disconnect in our mind because that behavior absolutely appalls us. We would never want to be anything like them. However, we question, is that the only way I'm going to get promoted or be the person that the role that I aspire to have? And that can create confusion in our heads. This sort of battle going on about no integrity. This is never ever be like that because that's not being integrity. But I so deserve. I just so want that, and my self-esteem is being not because I'm not getting it. The answer to that is noticing what armor are we putting on that's preventing us showing up truly as ourselves. Now, what I mean by body armor is this whole way we become that chameleon in order to sort of fit in with that environment that we don't even want to fit in with. So that's things like people pleasing, perfectionism, noticing that negative language in our heads, those gremlins that are telling us, oh, you're not good enough, why are you so rubbish? This battle that's going on in our head, which can be really, really brutal. And that imposter which saying, maybe I'm just not good enough for this. Maybe I've reached my career ceiling. But I feel there's so much more within me that I can offer. But then maybe I just have to accept where I am. And then this carries on, maybe months, maybe years, maybe many, many years. And the more we see others being promoted above us, particularly those particular individuals that seem to be Teflon coated, that just like, I don't care about anyone else, I'm going down this lane. If I stab you in the back in the process, that's not a problem because I'm getting what I want. The great news is when we start shifting that body armor, we stop the people pleasing, and then this is obviously, conversations we can have, and we reduce that perfectionism and focus on progress, not perfectionism. We absolutely get into knowing who we are, supporting our team, having conversations to actually acknowledge who we truly are. And sometimes that takes some conversations with ourselves and someone else to unpick all that. And we start ditching it. And we flip a coin in our heads. Our brain says, who do you think you are? You're rubbish. Flip it like a coin. What if I'm not? What if I actually listen to what my team are telling me? What if I listen and take the compliment that they tell me how inspiring I am and how I've made a difference and how I'm the best boss they've ever had and how they're so grateful that I am leading them? Then we can make the shift. Then we can start ditching the armor and showing up truly as ourselves. This is all about having the courage to be ourselves, the true inner person that we are already. Nothing's broken, nothing needs to be fixing. However, that conversations in our heads, that brutal beating up that we do to ourselves, can block our success. And learning not to listen to that voice and listen to what others are telling you, those that we really appreciate in our lives, that's when the shift happens. So let's have a conversation, because I know you have it all within you. It takes some conversations to realize that. And from my experience and those clients I support and have the privilege to do so, once we have the courage to be ourselves, everything works. So if you want to know where your leadership is, I'll put the link below, and you can do a 2-minute free questionnaire that will tell you where you're at in your leadership. And if you want to, let's have a conversation to help you start to ditch the armor that you might not even realize you were wearing, as I didn't initially. And when I started taking on this journey, I couldn't believe the doors that opened. So, and the courage you have it already is there within you. You're not finding anything you haven't got. It's ditching what's no longer serving you. So look after yourself, have a good day, and just notice when you start looking at the behavior of those behaviors that absolutely appall you, and you have that little voice in your head that says, oh no, do I need to be like them to succeed? And the answer is no, never. It's the courage to be who you truly are. And then the magic happens, as I've seen with my clients. Suddenly, by ditching the armor, they become the natural choice for promotion and are even offered a place on the board. Obviously, they have to go through the career process and the application process to meet HR requirements. Suddenly, doors open, promotion opportunities, headhunting, all sorts of opportunities that you've been aspiring to for years show up, and then you can lead the life that you've always imagined. So take care, look after yourself, and I look forward to seeing you and having a conversation. Take care. Bye.